The sponsor of this episode is Chadwell Supply, an OG in the multifamily industry. Chadwell is the largest privately owned maintenance and repair supplier, and they deliver orders the next day from local warehouses across the United States. To find out how Chadwell Supply will make your day better, visit www.chadwellsupply.com/difference.
Welcome to Decoding Multifamily, a video podcast that explores different aspects of multifamily operations and takes a deep dive into the important topics that affect the apartment industry. Watch as co-hosts Suzanne Hopson and Paul Marks engage with multifamily thought leaders, rising multifamily superstars, and apartment industry icons. Decoding is defined as the process of extracting meaningful and useful information. So watch closely as we begin Decoding Multifamily.
Welcome to Decoding Multifamily, powered by the Multifamily Media Network. The Multifamily Media Network is a free media platform on a mission to inspire the next generation of multifamily leaders. With a group of weekly podcasts from a roster of 16 different hosts who are not only practicing multifamily experts, but also industry icons, we bring you the latest insights, trends, and success stories from the multifamily world. So stay informed about each unique podcast and catch up on the latest episodes by visiting multifamilymedianetwork.com. Plus, don't miss out on our educational and inspiring multifamily blogs. Tune in, get inspired, and transform your multifamily journey with us. So I've got my great podcast host, Suzanne Hopson, here with me, and we have a fantastic guest today. Suzanne, why don't you introduce our guest?
Thank you so much, Paul, and welcome, Dave, to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, we're really excited to have you on. And as a matter of fact, before I get into your bio, which is very exciting, we met at NAA at the Palooza event, right?
We did.
It's amazing. I had like 3 different people, Paul, actually introduced me to Dave. So I knew I had to talk to him. This guy was important. I needed to get up to speed on what Dave's been up to. And so we're really excited to be able to decode you, Dave, today.
Oh, you make me blush. Thank you.
All right. Well, we know you're a seasoned property management professional with over 8 years of experience in creating vibrant communities and optimizing multifamily operations. And as a co-founder of Property Gauge, you spearhead business development and marketing, leveraging your deep industry knowledge to deliver innovative SaaS solutions that streamline property management. And again, I got the opportunity to pick your brain on that, and I'm excited for you to be able to talk about that since it's a real big hot topic, technology. Mm-hmm. You're also a dedicated leader in the property management industry, currently serving as president of the IREM New York Capital Region chapter. And under your leadership, the chapter has expanded its reach and impact, securing partnerships, enhancing educational offerings, and the big one, you are actually a finalist for the 2024 IREM REME Award for CPM of the Year, with the winner to be announced at the IREM Global Summit in October. That is an amazing.
Congratulations.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just found out about that last week. It's so beyond humbling and honoring to be recognized by IREM, and very much excited for October, and cross your fingers.
And if I could interject, we talked about this off air, but for those who are unaware about the CPM designation in IREM, it is a difficult designation to achieve. And I know of many, many multifamily top-level executives who go to IREM to get that designation because of the challenge that it is and what they learn and what they gain from that designation. So kudos to you for having the designation.
Thank you.
Congratulations on definitely being the finalist, and good luck in taking home the trophy.
Thank you. It's an honor. Yeah, it took about 3 years or so to earn the CPM designation. Yeah. And funny story, I actually did my final test in November 2019, And then like there was a whole global pandemic, and for some reason I never actually got sworn in until like 2021.
Yeah.
Just the way that it happened. So it's been a long journey, and I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Well, there's obviously a path to that accomplishment, and we would love to dive in with our favorite question to start out with, which is, how did you get into multifamily?
It's going to be the same answer as a lot of people in this industry. I fell into it. That's kind of what happened. 2016, I took a job with Sunrise Management and Consulting out of upstate New York. I was on the maintenance team for about 2 weeks, and then everyone decided I should not be on the maintenance team. So they moved me into the office. I did a summer as a leasing agent. I got moved up to assistant manager. I got moved up to a property manager, senior property manager. I did a number of new construction lease ups and eventually became a regional manager. And in the last 2 years, I've turned to the dark side of property management, and now I'm on the vendor side with a SaaS company called Property Gauge.
Yeah, really neat. And what is Property Gauge? What do they do?
So Property Gauge is all about automating reporting, right? So operators are so busy dealing with the fires that need to get put out and the things that need to happen. They're so busy reacting to what's going on. There's no time to, do any kind of preventative maintenance or do something that would prevent a problem months down the line. So if I could look at the reports and I could automate that for you and take that load off of the property manager's shoulders, I could say, hey, out of the thousands of different data points that are out there, here's the 5 or 10 things that you need to go and address today. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem tomorrow, right? I can prevent occupancy issues if we can get the lease renewals out on time. Right. So it's all about looking at the activity of what the site staff are doing and making sure they're meeting the expectations to prevent problems down the line rather than waiting for things to blow up and then have to react to them.
Yeah, no, I love that. But, we talk about it on the side all the time, especially, with my clients. And it's frustrating to always be looking in the rearview mirror at the data, right? And saying, that's what happened. And not really having a powerful tool to be able to look forward and say, okay, this is what's coming and this is how we can prevent it. And then, of course, all those conversations around KPIs, right? Like we could probably take another show on that topic for sure. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So you've mentioned some, I think, important things that I'd like to dig into a little bit further. One, I think it's awesome that you started in the maintenance role and you are an inventor, which is really, really cool.
Thank you.
We are always very excited to hear about people being able to do just that and seeing the possibilities of other people in our space being able to do that too. And so, what do you think it is about you that was a key driving force, I guess, to keep progressing, keep learning?
I absolutely love just kind of seeing what's out there, right? If there's a conference, a trade show, an expo floor, I'm all over it. I love to see what's out there and then try to connect the things that don't generally connect. Like, well, how can I take this idea and apply it to that? And one of the coolest things that you can do is get outside of your comfortable, your box of, comfortability and go to like a tech show or, some kind of industry association for an industry that you're not even part of, because maybe they're doing really cool stuff at, some industry that you're no way associated with. And you can take some nuggets of information and bring that back to your industry and say, oh man, over there in the, retail industry, they're doing something super cool and it influences this way and that way in technology. How do we apply that to multifamily? And how can we, really kind of take a big picture view of what we're doing and do it a little differently or connect a piece of it that didn't really make sense to connect before to be more efficient or better or smarter or faster or make more money or whatever the goal is that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, I hear people talk about doing that, but they don't necessarily do it.
Yeah, that's the other half of the battle.
Yeah, right. Like I'm looking at hospitality right now. We're looking at the hospitality industry. We look at this.
Right.
How can we bring that CX into multifamily? Yeah. But what do you think it is about you that actually just executes that and actually does it? I mean, I hear the big word curiosity, but I mean, it's in your heart wiring. I'm suspecting.
It's a little bit about me, but it's also a little bit about the spaces and situations and employers that allow me to do these kinds of crazy ideas, right? So I'll give you an example. You were just talking about hospitality. The property management company that I came from, not only do we operate apartments, we also operate hotels, and we're currently constructing apartments at the hotels on like the same plot of land with the ability to then flex around the resources. So if you have, in a traditional sense, if you have a lockout in the middle of the night, some maintenance person's got to get woken up and then drive to the site and unlock the door. But at a hotel, there's someone at the front desk 24/7. Right? So by having apartments and hotels in the same place, some apartment renter gets locked out, the front desk person can just let them back in, right? Or you can provide 40 hours of work to a housekeeper, because when there's not any hotel rooms to turn over, they can be cleaning hallways or cleaning apartments. Like, there's so many ways to flex around and have each thing be better because of the other thing, you know? So it's like, what ideas can we bring in that would be totally novel to our industry that we could implement in some way?
Yeah, you mentioned something that I think is key, and that's the ability to be able to stretch, you know, and do those things and work those muscles with employers that will not
be willing,
you know, look down on that or you know, squash it, I guess.
Exactly.
And it sounds like you've had that support.
Yeah. Come up with a creative idea, execute it, fail fast, right? Because if you know it's not going to work, stop trying and go on to the next thing.
Yeah, I love it. Well, and that kind of leads into the next question, which is the challenges. Our audience gets a lot out of hearing from seasoned individuals that have got some road rash. One of my favorite words right now.
Sure.
And, you know, we learn so much from our errors or our missteps. Is there a challenging time for you that you can remember that stands out?
Yeah.
And you're just like, whoa. And how did you navigate through that?
So it was 2018. I was taking over a portfolio. It was 400 units. It was spread out over 25 buildings. So it was a good, you know, amount of work that needed to be done. And the portfolio on day number one that we were coming in for this owner, we were the third party manager. It was about 65% occupied. It was like so much vacancy that they were losing $5,000 a day in just vacant units. And, you know, the challenge and the goal was to very quickly increase that number, because relatively soon you weren't going to have the means, the ability to hire anyone to increase that number because the occupancy was so low, right? And right about the same time, because I'm in New York State had put through the HSTPA, the basically it was tenant protection law that made the legal source of income a protected class. So what that ultimately meant was that someone who was a recipient of a housing voucher like Section 8, you could no longer say, oh, no, we don't accept Section 8, right? And a lot of the landlords, a lot of property managers were trying to do anything they could do to get around that. They didn't like the law change. They were trying to, you know, skirt the rules and do what they could. And I was like, this is a huge opportunity. I don't need to do the hard work anymore. I don't need to, you know, turn away people who actively want apartments. Section 8 is wonderful because it's guaranteed rent, right? And if I'm having a problem with the resident, I can just talk to the caseworker who will straighten them out, right? Because they don't want to lose their Section 8. So what I started doing was I started reaching out to as many different assistance agencies as I could find. Section 8, Department of Social Services, veterans, right? Anybody that in some capacity was there to help someone with housing, whether that be all they do or a piece of what they do, I wanted to get in front of them. And what I ended up making over the course of a couple months was this beautiful list. It was like 40, 50 different agencies, all within the immediate area of my portfolio. And every Friday I would email all these contact people, hey, here's my available apartments for the week, right? And we would come in on Monday with 20 applications that had come in over the weekend. And we would eat off of that all week, right? Because 20 applications, that's a lot of processing, that's a lot of showings, that's a lot of, you know, work. And it was like this every week thing. And within 11 months, we went from 65% occupied to 97% occupied.
Wow.
And at the same time, we reduced the monthly delinquency from 150,000 to 7,000. So
That's a
it was
great
like a
story.
total 180 on from where we took it to where we got it to. And at one point over the summer, because summer's the busiest season, I challenged my team and I said, I want to hit like 25 move-ins this month. That's going to take quite a lot of work, because to get 25 move-ins, you need to take probably 40 applications. And to do 40 applications, you need like 40, 50 showings. And then, as the numbers progress through the funnel, it's just more and more and more. So I challenged my team and we got close. It was July. I think we got 23, 24 move-ins. It was close. I said, all right, we're going to double or nothing next month. And if we hit 30 move-ins, it's going to be like a pizza party. And the prize didn't matter. It was the challenge, right? And if we managed to get 35, I'm going to add wings, right? And then I think I got a little frisky, and I was like, if we hit 40, we'll do it at a bar and the drinks are on me, right? And
Whoa.
I got one of those, right? It was like, it's not about the prize. It's about the team and the challenge, because I had 5 leasing agents and I had 5 maintenance people, and it's a lift to get that many units turned and ready, and then that many units rented. Like realistically, there's 20 business days in a month, right? So to get more than 20 move-ins, you're doing work to get that many in a day. The end of the month, we had one of those thermometer things on the wall. We would color it in with the red and everything. We moved in 58 people that month of August. I was out so much money from drinks from that pizza party, but it was totally worth it. Totally worth it.
That's a challenge.
Yeah. And we had this text chain going, because I had my leasing agents, we were all spread out. It was a big spread out portfolio. We had this text chain going. Oh, I took an apartment over here. I took an application over there. Right. And I had one person that's like, you are in charge of this availability sheet. We had to change it to a Google sheet because Excel wasn't updating fast enough. Right. And I was like, you are in charge. Anyone that texts and says that they got it, you get to gray it out and mark it down. And then, throughout the day, everyone has to check and make sure you're up to date on the communication. Because when there's that much going on, it's like, keeping everyone up to date, even with only having 5 people, it's like that's a lift, right? So the challenge, the takeaway from your question, it's like, how can you reframe the question, right? Yes, I can rent one apartment to one person for one phone call, no problem. But if I can call someone at the Department of Veterans who has money and has people who want apartments, they'll send me a bus, because they did, and I can rent 7 apartments in one phone call, right? And then it's guaranteed rent.
Yeah.
That's a nice commission check.
Seems like a no-brainer.
Why not? Right?
Yeah.
And you have to have the curiosity and the flexibility and the drive to say, there's a better way to do this. Let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
If you rest and you say, oh, we've always done it this way, you're always going to do it that way.
Very true. I know that there's a lot of legislation going on right now that is mirroring what you're talking about, and people are really having to shift the mindset of how they view Section 8 altogether. And
I love Section 8.
It's gonna it's gonna happen. And not only that, I've always thought this as well. We're in the business of providing housing.
Yep.
And so I think it's just another opportunity for us to be able to make a dent in what, is unfortunate in some of our cities where people can't find good housing. But yeah, a win-win to your point. And I
100%.
love the word lift. It sounds so much better than, oh my gosh, we have this huge mountain we have to climb. Lift is certainly more encouraging. How did you get the team motivated around that? I know there was a pizza party, and you said that wasn't really it.
The pizza party is not. Yeah.
Yeah, you talked process. But what was it? As a leader, what are you doing that creates that excitement around a really challenging goal?
It's building the culture of the celebrating success, right? If you say every application that comes in is a win, and we collectively call out and celebrate each win that we have as individuals or as a team, that's the way that, people get motivated, right? Whether you're motivated because there's an end goal, or because it's a team goal, or because your individual contribution is being, celebrated by the rest of the team, theoretically, you want to be the next person to text the group and say, I got one, because then everyone responds and says, good job, and you throw a little party 5 times a day, and it just kind of builds this very exciting energy towards the goal.
Chadwell Supply is the proud sponsor of the Multifamily Media Network. Chadwell Supply is the largest privately owned MRO supply company and is committed to the multifamily industry. They deliver orders the next day from local warehouses across the United States. Chadwell Supply offers valuable resources such as maintenance training, a dedicated renovations team, and procurement platform assistance, ensuring multifamily properties operate more efficiently. Partnering with Chadwell Supply helps communities stand out in an increasingly competitive market. Learn more at chadwellsupply.com/difference.
Celebrating the wins first.
Celebrate the wins. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The story actually continues.
Yeah.
So like I said, it was 2019, and it was 11 months from then, which kicked off our global panini, right? So we were able to flip the script, and we already had this great relationship with 40 to 45, 50 different assistance agencies. And every one of my renters who over the past year we had moved in, I was able to, say, hey, if you're having some kind of financial trouble, we have contacts of all of these different agencies. Let me connect you with a resource to be able to find some help. We didn't have to evict anyone, right? If someone was having a problem, we had the network, the resources, the connections to be able to find them some assistance, keep them in their housing, keep the money flowing towards us. And we had the trust of both the residents and I'm not going to call them suppliers, but assistance agencies to allow us all to do that.
Yeah, that's an amazing challenge that you all overcame and during one of the most difficult times. And I think that, that way of thinking that you talked about at the beginning of the question, just looking at things differently than perhaps we've done before, looking at the opportunity instead of, the obstacle. So really, really cool. There's a lot going on in the marketplace right now, right?
Correct.
I would love your take on, what you're seeing out there and what you think maybe some of the challenges we've got coming and how you're preparing for that or thinking about that.
So I think the kind of hot topic, I'm going to reference Apartmentalize. The hot topic in Apartmentalize this year was like AI. Automation, what can we do to make people's lives easier, or maybe, cut down on the number of staff that we need? How do we automate? How do we respond faster? And I think if you're looking forward to 2025, I think the hot trend might be, and I might be wrong, I can't see the future, right? But I think the hot trend might be like the response to regulation and what's going on with the RealPage lawsuits and, revenue optimization in San Francisco, banning, stuff like that. And I think you're going to see a lot more scrutiny, and we've seen it from the Biden administration about junk fees and, consumer rights. And I think it's all fantastic. And absolutely, I should have the ability to, unsubscribe or turn off my gym membership without going through 1,000 hoops for something. And I think that's definitely coming towards the multifamily market. So it's going to be operators that can adapt, that can respond, that can, see what's coming down the pike and be prepared for it, are going to be much better suited to handle it when it arrives rather than getting caught off guard by it. And if I had to say what's going to be the hot thing in 2025, it's regulation and response to regulation and making sure we're all meeting the expectations that we should be as an industry putting out there as, providing safe housing and, ethical operators, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I think you're right. I definitely think you're right. There's just, there's so much unknown right now, but people have a sense that there's a lot coming. And, the rent control, and it's just a whole nother hour again that we could talk about just that. In those challenges or opportunities that are coming, how are you preparing for that? There's been some talk about, I've seen a lot of this where people are putting an AI person on their team that is just an expert in AI so that, because most of us aren't. right? Like we're these novices that really
Right.
don't know what we're doing. We're just having fun with it,
Right.
which can be costly. How are you preparing for what's coming?
So a lot of it is just kind of staying up to date with what's going on, right? I'm gonna highlight the Multifamily Media Network. There's so much you can learn by people who are putting out content and are talking about what's going on in their market or their industry or their subset, that you should be like, oh man, if this is happening in California or this is happening in New York, it's probably going to come to the rest of us, right? That's kind of just the way that it happens. So you can look around at what's going on and say, oh, that's interesting. We should make a plan. Maybe we won't need it. Hopefully we don't, but let's do, basically it's like a disaster response plan, you know? And as far as, you know, specifically what are we doing in New York? One of the things that we started with years ago, which is now being rolled out across the nation, is that 5% rent cap thing. You know what I'm talking about? So that happened in New York like years ago. You know, so if you are paying attention, you can really see who's pushing the policy towards the rest of the country. And the really interesting part of the text is if you read it, it specifically and only says rent. It doesn't say all the other parts, right? So water and sewer and technology fees and pet fees and like anything that you could say, oh, this is all in rent or all in living or what do you pay one amount. If you separate that out and you do it before the policy comes down, well, this is the way we're doing it. Rent is X, and there's the tech fee, and there's a pet fee, and there's a water fee. And then when you are capped at that 5% for rent, you're not capped on water and sewer, right? We set up all of our apartments so that the water sewer bill is sub-metered to the unit, and it's a pass-through. So that when our water sewer bills jumped 30% this year, which they did, right, that 30% got passed along to the residents, rather than we just had to eat it. You know, and studies have shown, specifically water sewer, if you're paying for your own usage, you're going to use less water. It makes perfect sense, you know? So I guess the short answer is pay attention. Stuff's going on. If it's not here yet, it might be. So prepare for it. Have the hypothetical what if discussion. You won't regret it.
Yeah. Wow. How many nuggets have you counted, Paul,
Yeah.
that he's given out here? Just some really, really good advice. And again, it comes back to being in the present moment and really paying attention and being open and curious. I think all those things you are emulating in your organization, certainly. How do you balance it all? You seem like a busy guy. So
I am a busy guy. I actually am also a new father. I have a 9-month-old.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So it's been not only quite the past year, you know, becoming a father and having a newborn. I am also in for another exciting year because we're expecting again. So I know. So like this 2-year, 3-year block of my life is just going to be hectic. So you're right. I am a busy guy, and I think it's really important to try to set clear boundaries and reasonable expectations for yourself, right? I got to go to work 9 to 5, 8:30 to 5, whatever it may be, right? And at 5 o'clock, I'm going home. Maybe I'm wrapping up a call in the car on the way home or something. And if something comes up post 5, it better be really important because this is the time I'm trying to dedicate to my son or to my family or, you know, whatever the situation may be. And then in addition to all the work and the personal, I'm also doing a ton of volunteering. You know, I'm pretty well involved with IREM and AA. I'm also involved with the Electric Vehicle Association and our local farmers market. I'm on the sustainability committee for the farmers market. So it's just about, you know, find the things that give you joy and energize you rather than zapping your energy. And it won't be hard to make the time. Because I look forward to the committee meetings because I get to see friends. I get to work on cool projects, you know, and the more you can just, you know, kind of center your life around the things that give you joy, the less you'll have to worry about the rest of it. And that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, we've got about 10 minutes left. And Dave, I want to ask you, because you're right. The most common story when we asked the question of how'd you get into the multifamily industry?
By accident.
Yeah, by accident. So you really didn't have a basis of knowledge of the industry when you got into it.
Yep.
We've had a lot of people tell us that they found a mentor or they were recognized by someone who mentored them. Did you have an experience like that?
So I like to read a lot of business books, or these days it's audiobooks. And I always try to take away some kind of lesson or something I can apply. One book that I really cannot recommend enough is Never Split the Difference. It's by Chris Voss. Have you read it? It's a great one. I think I even see it on your bookshelf there. But for those who haven't read it, the guy Chris Voss, he is a former FBI hostage negotiator. And he talks in the book all about kind of that experience and then applies the lessons from those negotiations to business, and like ways to approach a conversation and ways to listen to what someone is saying and not saying, and like things that can really make an impact. And I've used his guidance in so many aspects of my life. I love just rereading the book or just sections of it and saying like, oh yeah, I could be doing that a little differently. Or, it's even reframed the conversations that I've had with my wife, because part of it's all about active listening, and that's half the battle when you're talking to your wife, right? So, as far as, where do I find that kind of guidance? I like to, business books, read, see what's out there, audiobooks, podcasts, listen to, pay attention.
Yeah.
And going back to what you said, so prior to Multifamily, I actually worked at Walt Disney World for 4 years.
Okay.
I was a cast member. So it's all about the show, the magic, the experience that you can put out there. And it's not just resident facing or customer facing. Everything that you do is an experience for someone. If you're talking to employees or a vendor or a supplier, it's an experience that you're creating. It's a show that you're putting on. So even if, you don't want to be having the conversation or what have you, you got to kind of tuck that away and say, I got to put on a smile or a face or something to say, yeah, this is, I'm going to try to make the best of this, even if it's not the ideal situation.
Can we ask what character you were?
Oh, sure. I was not a character. Even if I was, I couldn't tell you. That's not how it works. But I actually worked at the Tower of Terror. I was a bellhop at the Hollywood Tower Hotel, and it was my job to bring the guests to their room, right? And in the questions that you had prepared and sent over, I want to answer one of them. You were asking about, is there like a little anecdote or experience that's kind of approached your leadership style? So I wanted to answer that because it was a good prompt, and I want to make sure I get it in here. So when I worked at Disney World, at the Tower of Terror, we had this like deployment system where as you clocked in or you came back from your break, you would log into the computer and it would give you a position to go to. And sometimes it happened that you were like in a different position every 45 minutes. And sometimes you would just coincidentally get stuck in the same one all day. It was luck of the draw, right? So there's 21 different positions, and it was everything from, standing outside at the entrance of the line to you were in the library in the pre-show, you're unload or load, or there's a bunch of different spots. And obviously some positions were better than others, right? If it's a 100-degree day in Orlando, Florida, I don't want to be outside in a trench coat, welcoming people to the attraction, and some cast members would make this they would really show their displeasure and make this kind of big stink when they pulled a position that they didn't want to go to for whatever reason. And I was talking to one of my managers one day, and he's like, we're always watching, even when you don't think we are, we're always watching to see who is like, oh, I get to do this versus who is like, oh, I have to do this. Right. And it's Disney World. It's a really good attraction. People are jealous of you that you get to work at this cool thing and do this, So if you're the person that's like, oh, I have to go, you're not going to last very long. There's definitely someone else who's willing and wanting to do that job, and you don't need to be the one pulling down morale. And if you apply that to every other possible situation, oh, I get to go and fix Mrs. Jones's window again, or I get to go and send off lease renewals. Look at, try to reframe it. Oh, I'm providing this very needed thing, or I'm helping someone with their housing, or, their kid is living in a safe environment so they get to grow and be and learn and do. And no matter what you're doing, be grateful for it. You're doing something cool if you think that you're doing something cool,
How refreshing. Yes. No, I love that. I just came from a meeting where people were talking about how difficult it is to motivate people. And I've always had a philosophy about that. You really can't motivate people. It comes from within. It's intrinsically how, again, they're wired. You can create opportunities, pathways, encouragement, but it's really hard to motivate someone. And I think you're speaking to that. It's a challenge right now in the hiring arena.
Yeah. I can tell you something we did.
Yeah. I mean, tell me what you're seeing there.
So our property management company, we put out the opportunity for a totally optional book club. Anyone in the company, any member, any level, any position, hey, we're going to read a book. If you want to read it, excellent. Read the book, show up here, we'll have lunch and discuss it, right? 100 people in the company, 2%, 5%, 10% of the people participate, take the initiative, right? Those are the people who are motivated, right? You get an audience with the CEO of the company, the president of the company, whoever's leading this group, just to see who's going to show up and who's going to participate when it's a totally optional experience.
That's great.
Yes. What a great idea.
We got about 3 minutes left, Suzanne.
Well, we always ask one parting question, which is really your ability to be able to give someone more than you already have today, which is going to be difficult, really given wonderful, wonderful tools for people to go back to work on. Is there one thing that you would recommend for someone who's going to be entering our multifamily arena?
Yeah.
How will they be successful? What kind of advice would you give them?
Be open, right? So there's 100 million people who want your attention. Vendor, supplier, coworker, resident, right? If you prejudge, if you dismiss someone out of hand without even knowing what they're there to talk to you about, you're turning off the potential for some kind of great relationship, right? Some of my best friends are on the supplier side and I've never bought from them ever. But we have this like, oh, I'm having a problem. Can I talk through it with you? And it's like, it's so, you just have to be open to other people and showing up to something that gets you a little bit uncomfortable and going for the title or the job or the promotion that might be a little bit above, your current capability. And the other thing is like, if you want something, just go do it, right? Don't get all up in your head about it. I have a good friend who I made through IREM, and at one point she looked at me and she's like, how are you so involved in chapter president and this and that of the committee? And I was like, I just showed up. I just kept pestering them until they let me in the room, right? And she actually listened and took my advice, and now she's on the board of directors of IREM because she just kept showing up, and they made her one of the board of directors. So walk in with the confidence of a straight white man, and you'll be fine.
Confidence.
Yeah.
Yes, there it is.
Well, Dave, I thank you for joining us today. I want you to let our audience know if they want to reach out to you, find out more about what you're doing with your company, as well as just pick your brain. What's the best way for them to reach you?
I'm more than happy to connect with anyone, talk to anyone, set up a half-hour Zoom. Happy to do it. Please reach out on LinkedIn. That's my main haunt these days. It's linkedin.com/Dave Holland CPM. I'm working on a goal to have 3,000 connections by the end of the year. I'm at like 2,100 something. So please reach out. I'd love to see if I can leverage my network in some way or another to help you achieve your goals.
All right. Well, thank you so much. It's been great. Look forward to getting some great news about your your award coming up, hopefully. But anyway, to our audience, we appreciate you watching this and want to encourage you to go to multifamilymedianetwork.com to subscribe, learn all about the different podcasts that are available and the great blogs from our creators. I think you'll find it to be very educational and inspiring, and it's free. Multifamilymedianetwork.com. But we'll be back with another episode soon of Decoding Multifamily. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Decoding Multifamily video podcast, and please tune in to future episodes. If you would like to subscribe to our weekly newsletter or discuss being a podcast guest on Decoding Multifamily, please go to multifamilymedianetwork.com. Thank you for watching Decoding Multifamily.
Thank you again to Chadwell Supply for sponsoring this episode. Chadwell Supply delivers unforgettable service with next-day delivery, online and in-person maintenance training, and procurement platform assistance to make ordering simpler. Visit www.chadwellsupply.com/difference to learn how Chadwell Supply will make your day